on diet. Mahavir, Buddha, Krishna, Ram, they looked at the whole life in its totality. We divide outer, inner, body, mind, soul. These are not two separate things. These are the manifestations of the same consciousness. But once in a while, somebody like them comes up and they have a total view. He's saying that whatever you do, whether you do it outside or inside, will have an influence in its totality. If you take care of the roots, the tree looks good. If you take care of the tree, it looks good until you start neglecting the roots. So your total approach to life is extremely important. And to have a total approach, you have to realize and do the actions which really prevent you, the actions which might actually take you more closer to the spirituality and your center self, versus the actions which may take you away from the center. So our mesmerism and fatal attraction with the material world is taking us away from the spiritual inner aspect. And with the world as it's going around, more and more attractions are coming out and less spiritual enlightenment is taking place. So it is very careful. So his views on the diet is, that's what he said was, that all these substances which are addictive, we should stay away from them. The reason is that in the long run it affects us, because all the substances which are addictive are creations of a human being. There is not a single substance which is created naturally. You could get addicted, like regular fruits and vegetables. And so all those fruits and vegetables, they do not leave any impressions in your mind. Versus all the addictive substances which are our creations, they're always there to basically give you the impressions, and based on those impressions, your behavior the next day or the next month, it changes. So it creates your vasanas and vrittis, and vasanas and vrittis keep getting more and more stronger, and ultimately that really makes us devoid of our connection with self. So he's saying that if you stay away from these foods, and he doesn't say do not consume at all, because it's very hard statement. He says you should not consume in a great quantity. So he's also keeping some options open. Supposing something happens to you as a medicine, you may have to take it. So he does not want you to be a dogmatic or very hardliner either, because you never know, you may have to. But when you take to the extremes, and then you may also suffer. So he's saying, like, for example, if the medicine has to be taken, the portions that you take, first of all, nobody wants to take medicine. And when they do want to take medicine, they want to take as little as possible. But imagine the same substance being used for consumption and enjoyment. They say, oh, give me the bigger portion. And the portions keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Supersize me.
So there is a difference between how the diet is consumed for your enjoyment's sake versus it's taken as a medicine. When you're hungry, you have to eat. He understands that. But the foods that we eat are very important, because it decides how our vrittis and vasanas are going in what direction. So that's why we had brought up the discussion from Sadhana Sutra, where he had quoted few quotes. They say, one should not take delicious dishes like milk, yogurt, sugar, honey, and spicy foods in excessive quantities. The reason he's saying that it stimulates the lust within you. And after that lust, your body becomes, or your mind becomes like a tree, which is loaded with ripe fruits and is attracting the birds from all over the place. These birds never cared about that tree until the fruits started coming in. So the vasanas and vrittis follow you as you keep on consuming these objects more and more. So it is very important to see the life in totality, and every choice that you make is extremely important, and every choice takes you in this direction or that direction. So to decide which choice to make, the awareness is extremely important. The awareness is the highest, is the consciousness. The consciousness is the ultimate doer, and it's conscious all the time. And the consciousness, to raise the consciousness, raise the awareness, practice of dhyan and meditation is very important. Then you can analyze each and every action that you're taking. So Buddha and Mahavir totally eliminate the existence of God. They say there is no God, because they realized that as soon as they tell you there is God, then you're going to be going in the search of God and God and God. And then it becomes another object. That's just like you're trying to get $1 million, $10,000, this car, that car. People will make an object of achievement. And that's not what spirituality is about. So they eliminate it. They say your actions are the most important. Every time you're making a choice, you're creating either a heaven or a hell for you down the road. And vasanas and vrittis go across many lives, and they're accumulating. A lot of these actions that you're doing right now are the results of your past vrittis and vasanas. And without correcting those things, you're not going to be getting rid of those. And when that doesn't happen, samadhi is never going to be possible. Because there is nothing static in this world. The world is changing all the time. It's progressing all the time. So either you are accumulating the vasanas or you are eliminating the vasanas, one or the other. There is nothing static. So awareness is very important. At the same time, unawareness is extremely opposite of the consciousness. What are the things that make us unaware? Unawareness are all these addictive substances, but that's not where the buck stops. How you dress, how you eat, how you behave, how you talk, what people you hang out with, all those things create a scenario which makes you more and more unaware. So being in the crowd, following the crowd, just because we are in the crowd, all these things are ultimately gonna make you more and more unaware. And more unawareness means you're walking away from the consciousness. So Mahavir says, don't blame the foods. Don't blame any objects outside. Those are only the hooks where you're putting your energy. Whether you're making a choice to eat the substances which are healthy or unhealthy, you are spending the same energy in making that decision. But think of the consequences, what is going to happen. So if you're going to be creating your lustful nature with an object, that's going to haunt you down the road. So he says it's very important. The consciousness that we have is absolutely pure. It's shining like a sunshine within you, except that it is clouded. We have the clouds of vrittis and vasanas. They're hiding our consciousness. Every single person in the world has consciousness, full and bright. It's available to you anytime you want it. It's there, except the vrittis and vasanas. So Buddha gives a good example that if you want to put a fire on a wood, but if the wood is wet, it's the only thing that's going to come out is the smoke. The fire will never happen. So to match up the fire of spirituality, your vrittis and vasanas it's very important that we clear them out one by one by one. So that's why Mahavir says that if you are serious on the path of spirituality and reaching to the consciousness level, it is very important that you stay away from these substances. In the morning you meditate, like we said, and in the evening you consume alcohol. It's like you're going one step further and maybe one or maybe 2 steps backward, or depends upon the party, I guess. So alcohol does not do anything to you. It just perpetuates your lustful nature. It just creates the vasanas. And to that matter, all the delicious foods and everything else. So Mullah Nasruddin said that he made a statement to his friends that I drink only one drink. He says, come on, Mullah, we have seen you consuming 3, 4 easily. How can you say you're drinking only one? He says, my responsibility is only for the first one. The first one consumes the second consumes the third, and then I'm gone anyway.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
Well, Mullah was an enlightened man.
After first one, he is not awakened.
Right, exactly.
2 mullahs, yeah.
So, so the awareness that you want to practice, the intellect, which is you want to practice, that's going to make the decisions, right and wrong, it is in the best shape before consuming the first drink. Once the first drink is consumed and then people think that second and third, they're going to stop, the intellect is not there, nowhere to be found. So if you're really on the path of spirituality, these are the consequences you feel, right? So once you drink, your behavior may change. The problem is, a lot of times different things come out. Some people become very uncivilized, some people become very quiet, some people start swearing, some people, whatever, they start blabbering and all those things. Those are your inner states which are being brought out by the alcohol. Alcohol, by standing by itself, has nothing, but the effect that it carries, it brings out your inner things. In the daytime, you may be worshipping your father and all that. In the night, you may be hating him. Your dreams are the same thing. Dreams are the real reality. You may have anger filled with everybody, but outside you may be very civilized. So this dichotomy is going to hurt. Mahavir says, look at the whole thing in its totality. What you are outside should be what you are inside. It's like when you get angry, what do? Like you get angry and then all of a sudden you blow your mind and you say things and do things that, and then an hour, 2 hours later you're sorry. Now, you become sorry for a few minutes and say it's okay, and then 2-3 days later the anger comes out again. You have never done anything for the anger itself. In fact, when you say sorry, you have a certain image of yourself as that you are a very civilized and educated person that never gets angry. Oh, with all that, I still got angry. And so you feel sorry. So sorry is just another way of hiding your detached image, that you have detached yourself from that image. And then after a while, then it goes on. And then you say, by saying sorry, you just can continue doing the same anger again and again and again. And it goes on. It never ends. It will be better if you accept that you are an angry man. Then you are polarized. Then you polarize that you are an angry man. Once you have a positive acceptance, then things can change. Until then, those two things gonna keep on hiding. It's like a hide and seek. One part of your mind wants to do anger. Another part of the mind wants to quiet down the anger. So it's almost like part A becomes manifest and part B goes in hiding. Part B comes manifest, part A goes into hiding. But it's just you. Both the times it's you. The one who got angry was you, and the one who feeling sorry is you. So we are dividing our personality. We are creating compartments in our own mind. And this play has been going on forever. Nobody has been able to accept it. This is the reality. And from that point onwards, you can move on and build up your spiritual strength. If you realize that whatever you're doing is you, the energy is neutral. Whatever energy you're using to get angry or saying sorry, it's the same energy. Same electricity goes in, whether it's a stick light or in a bulb or in an air condition, just manifesting in a different way. And you are the one who are the provider for that energy. Your own energy gave the anger, your energy saying the sorry. So try to see the connection between all your actions. It's your inner energy that you're devoting to all these actions. So you will see that one action is contradicting the another action. It's kind of just basically a waste. You spending energy this way and then another energy this way, but nobody's paying attention to your inner infinite source of consciousness that you're walking around with and wasting on all the things which are neutralizing each other. You're not going anywhere. You're staying at the mud level. You will never become a lotus. So we have to realize that it's our energy that we are donating, and by crisscrossing, we are destroying our personality. And that's why we have to do all these things to look nice outside. We have to hide our anger and this and that and all those things. Same way, when you eat wrong foods, you're spending energy to go and grab that rasmalai, and then the next day you try to go to Jenny Craig or work it out on a gym and all those things. Same energy that you went to acquire, and now you have to spend energy. So all these things are just a play going on. Deep inside, there is a huge pool of consciousness. It's like three kids, they're fighting, right? And then one kid says, my mom gave me a car. He says, oh yeah, mom gave me house. He said, tere paas kya hai? Mere paas maa hai. It's like the consciousness is where it really matters. All those are just superficial manifestations. When the consciousness is devoted to getting angry, the anger is going to last in a limited time. But then it comes down. The consciousness is infinite. When you have infinite potential available, why are we wasting time on transient things? So all those things, we have to realize that. And Gurdjieff, we talked about, is the philosopher from Austria. He says that without self-knowledge, you have to know yourself. Without knowing yourself, you have not done anything in life. You came with nothing, you going with nothing. On the contrary, we lost a few more points of spiritual possibility. He says without self-knowledge, without understanding and working on the function of this machine, man cannot be free. The freedom is possible when you do not make choices. Every time you choose, you're choosing hell. Sooner or later, the hell is coming. Whether it's now or later, it's hell. Choice is hell. Choicelessness is freedom. So the freedom is possible only when you realize the futility of making choices. When you became angry, or when you ate the wrong foods, or when you decided to drink alcohol, it was your choice. You decided out of all the substances available, you decided on that particular substance or an object. So you exercise your energy to make that choice. Once the choice is done, you are slave. And your motion slows down. Even tomorrow, you're missing the choice that you made, cheesecake or whatever. So your life is now controlled by those objects, and you're dancing to the tune of those objects. So dhyato vishayam punsa sangatesu upajayate sangat sanjayate kama kamat krodh abhijayate krodha bhavati sammoha sammoha smriti vibram smriti branshar buddhinasha buddhinasha pranashyati. So it's whole sequence. Once you pay an attention to an object, the object becomes everything for you. And you think that you are doing something, but it's the object making you dance to its own tunes. Before you know, you really diminish to nothing. So the consciousness is extremely important every time you make a choice. You look at the body. What is the speed of the body? The fastest marathon runner, 13 miles an hour. That's it, 13, 14 miles. The mind is very swift. It can go all over the places. It can think of galaxies or moons or whatever. So mind has a tremendous speed, which is not possible. Even in the material world, the fastest speed is light, 186,000 miles a second. But mind is more swifter than that, right? You can think of anything in a second, right? But there is a limitation of the mind. The mind's limitation is the knowledge. It can think of only the thing it knows. Whatever it does not know, it cannot think of it because it's not there. So we want to transcend the mind. That's wasting our energy. You have to be swifter than the mind. You will say that what can be swifter than the mind? How about the consciousness, which is sarvada, sarvagnya? It is omnipotent, omnipresent. It's instantaneously everywhere. That's the only place which can claim the superiority over the mind. And that's what we're doing. In meditation, we're going further deeper and synchronizing with our consciousness. Consciousness has that potential to go above the mind. We don't want to fight with the mind, because fighting with the mind is also the mind, because you are a doer. First, when you enjoyed the food, you are a doer. You are enjoying. You're right in the middle of enjoying the rasmalai. How can you think of not eating rasmalai? Your whole body, your mind, your consciousness, everything is synchronized with that food. You cannot come out. So you are the doer. And then the next day later, 2 days later, you are the repenter. Oh my God, what did I... So now you are so busy repenting. You are also a doer. Doership, doership, doership. That's all we know. And that's why we cannot go within. Because inside, there is no doership. Outside, you may say, okay, you ate this many gulab jamu, I'll eat more, or whatever. You ate this many, had so many drinks, I will have so many, whatever. You talk about all these things. But there are differences. That's why you can prove yourself superior to others or whatever. But inside, there is nobody else. It's just you. So we carry on the same habit of outside, that if I have to look superior to you, I have to do something better than you. So first of all, I have to accept that I am not better than you. So I'm starting from this level. I'm going to do something that will make me look better than you, and then finally I'll feel good. Inside, there is nothing. So we artificially create the compartments within us, because we're carrying the same habit that we have outside. And from the same habit, we're trying to say, I'm angry, so I'm going to try not to be angry. I have this habit, so I'm going to try to fight. But that's all compartments of the mind. Never realizing it's your consciousness being divided. So wouldn't you rather have a consciousness which is all-time powerful and in singularity, in a united fashion? Then only you will have a glimpse of peace, Otherwise, your mind is continuously going to be going back and forth, objects and then people and then situations, and all these things are we doing right from the time we wake up till we go to bed, and even in sleep we have dreams coming up. This guy did this, I'm going to do this and that, all that, like literally all day long. That's why we've been fighting this duel for a long time, and it's time to give up that duel. And you're not going to give that duel until you synchronize and you get a glimpse of even a small amount of samadhi, few fractions of a samadhi, seconds of a samadhi will put you in that state. You realize what you're doing wrong. Then all of a sudden these vrittis and vasanas, you will say, this is so futile. Why am I doing this? What's the point? Over outside there is something to achieve. Inside there is nothing to achieve. Whatever I achieve, who I'm going to brag about? Who going to talk to? Who going to fight with? Nothing. It's an open field. You just do whatever. And that's why you start transcending your vrittis and vasanas.
So you have to be true to yourself.
True to yourself. But that's the only way it's possible. Otherwise it's just not possible. And that's why, and once you reach to that level of consciousness, your faith starts building up. Until that time, your faith has no value. No matter how many times they say you bow down to this God and that God and do this and that, oh, it's there, it's there, it's there. But kids will say, well, where is it? Where is the God? Until you connect and get the glimpse of the all-time infinitely powerful consciousness, you don't have faith. So that's why Gurjit says, conscious faith is freedom. And freedom is ultimate freedom, because God creates everything new. To appreciate whatever is happening new, you have to be free. If you are attached to the objects, you're missing the point, whatever is happening in front of you. So at the infinite level, that's once you realize the glimpse of the infinite possibilities, infinite existence, then your faith that you have is the ultimate freedom. That's the conscious faith. And then he says that emotional faith is slavery. It's like when you're bound with emotions, with objects, people. I love my Porsche. I love this. I love my wife. I love my kids. Those are emotional. You think that that's where the pleasure is. That's slavery. Because they can play around with you anytime. People change, objects change, situations change, everything changes. Wife changes, especially wife changes.
But some people, when they are free, they get bored, There's nothing to do.
But that freedom is only relative. They are not bound to God yet, that's why. But the mechanical faith is total foolishness, where you don't even have emotional attachment. You're doing because your parents told you. You did it because your subordinates are saying. People around you are doing it. So that's mechanical faith. That's total foolishness. So foolishness to slavery to freedom. That's the path of spirituality, according to Gurdjieff. So mind, that becomes a big problem for most of the people. What is mind? Mind is not really an object. It's not something that you can handle using your own mind. Mind is a phenomenon. It's basically a series of thoughts. It's an abstract, but mind is more like an activity. It's like somebody's walking, and you say, and then he stops. You're not going to say, what happened to your walking? Did you put it somewhere? Did you get rid of it? We are treating mind like an object. Mind is our own activity that we have to realize. When we are walking and we're trying to sit down and relax, we're thinking it's two contradictory things. Only when the thoughts start ceasing, the mind ceases. The mind comes to a rest. So we should not even call it a mind. See, that's the problem of the language. It was never devised like Sanskrit. The English language is not created by the enlightened people. So they say a tree. A tree is not a tree. It's a continuous flow of molecules which are, even whether we see it or not, there is a continuous water and the nutrients are being taken up, oxygen is given out, carbon dioxide is taken in. It's a treeing. It's a process. The same way mind is a process. We should call it minding. You are minding right now, and when you meditate, you are not minding. Simple, right? So when you go to the rest, simple to say, but not simple to do. But so basically that's the whole idea. When we meditate and you step back and you look at your own thoughts coming and going, you're just choosing not to be active like a mind. That's all. But mind is still there. It's not that the mind disappears. Mind will become your slave at that point. You will utilize whenever you want to. When Buddha reached enlightenment, that doesn't mean his mind had disappeared. Otherwise, he'll end up in the mental asylum. He had to have a mind. He had to make announcements that, okay, I'm going to talk on this or go from village to village. Minds have to be needed. But then mind becomes the instrument in your hands. You become the charioteer. Krishna runs your chariot, not Arjun. Arjun was a poor choice for running a chariot. Well, that's what we're doing. So we'll call it minding rather than a mind.
No, but the Freudian, that's not based on the mind. Like ego is.
But that's what it is.
Ego and superego
But
was
that's
classified by Freudian,
right,
which is wrong actually. Then.
Exactly. But that's exactly what Rajneesh was saying. That Freud trained his psychologists, all the Freudian psychologists, when they went into the community to do the treatment of the patients, and they say there were certain conditions they had to follow. Say, you cannot touch the patient, because if you touch the patient, it conditions you. Whether you know it or not, it conditions you. It's a female or a male or a child, you may have compassion, whatever. But another thing is supposed to be sitting behind the curtain. So you don't even look at the patient, so that outside world or the patient or related does not condition you. You look at that patient as not as a patient or a human being, look at it as a problem. And you're there to solve the problem. Now, all these requirements were laid down in the Freudian theologies, but Osho says Buddha won't have to worry about all these things, because he is already detached at the mind level. When you are not detached at the mind level, then every single outside stimulation will affect you. But when you are beyond the mind, when you transcend the mind, you don't have to worry about it. Buddha will sit and do whatever he has to do. If you go take a problem to Buddha, he will not necessarily sympathize with you, because he's not going to get carried away with your emotional crying and this and that and all that. Because he knows that it's been your fault that you are up to this level. You made mistakes in the past and you addicted. Now you're coming to Buddha. What is he going to do? He says, don't do the addiction. That's all. And he will have compassion for you. Compassion is coming from a lot higher source than sympathy. Sympathy is getting along. Sympathizers you can find a lot. You can go to the neighborhood in India.
It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. It makes you feel good temporarily. That, oh, you're crying. That, oh, no, it is so, no, this and that. But crying is useless. He will say that. He has gone through all these experiences himself. If not in this life, in previous lives. He has learned from it. He decided to learn from each and every experience. We decide not to learn. If you're crying, you lost someone, or you lost your car, or whatever, and you're crying, and some people, you want people to come and sympathize with you, cry with you, hold your hand, this and that, and all these things does not do anything. On the contrary, the guy is doing a disservice to you. He's crying with you, so you're more and more getting deeper and deeper into. So sympathy is different than compassion. So compassion, only the person who is enlightened can truly give it to you, because he knows that these are all mistakes that you have committed, and that's why you're suffering. So next time when the situation changes, the new experience comes in, you learn from that experience and then move on. I'll give you an example. I hate mushrooms, right? I never like mushrooms. Somehow it has that meat kind of taste or whatever. And it's so bland, right? There is no spices. You come from India, right? So I always avoid mushrooms. Anything mushroom, I don't want to touch it. So in our doctor's lounge, they serve the food, right? So we are having a lunch, and I always have the salad and all that. And I look for boiled vegetables or something to put with that so I get some protein. So there were some peas, but peas were mixed with mushrooms. So I carefully chose, right? I chose, and finally I put that. Then I sat across in another room, and all of a sudden I noticed there is one mushroom still there. So I said, all right, I'm going to put it on the side. So I started eating and all that. I said, when I'm done, I'm going to get rid of it, right? So now I'm reading and I'm eating. And by the time I was done, I was looking for a mushroom. It was gone. So our likes and dislikes are all at the mind level. And then I decided that if I could eat it unknowingly, I might as well eat it. So I have to transcend the mind. 3 days later, they had the same dish again, peas and mushrooms. I had every single mushroom. Not that I like it, but at least I don't mind it as much. You have to learn from every experience you go through. That changes your life. That changes your behavior. Osho had a good thing. So one Bhakt went to Osho's lectures, right? And he said that, I'm going to bring my mother who is 90-year-old. Is it okay? He says, yeah, why not, He says, but she's like a great devotee. She has been doing mala for so many decades, and, after listening to your all these thoughts that she may not like it, he said, well, you better bring her, because she doesn't have that much time left. She may not be around for a long time. You are young, but at least she's not. So bring her. That's no problem. And at the end of the lecture, everything happens, and she goes home, and the guy calls. He says, that was a miracle. I couldn't believe it. Because when I saw that my mom was not doing mala anymore, I asked her, he says, what happened to your mala? I have been seeing you for 30, 40 years. He says, when Osho said that, ask yourself. Don't ask me. Are you getting anything out of it? Or are you just doing it mechanically? That because you're following everybody, because your parents told you, because your Guruji told you. Are you getting anywhere? And I asked her, she says, no, I left the mala. Same place where I was attending the lecture. I'm not touching it anymore. He's right. For 40 years I did this mala, didn't do anything for me. 40 years of life she wasted. So we don't learn from our experiences. We just keep doing things mechanically. We keep eating the same rasmalai every time. Every time we make a decide that we're not going to do it, we still do it anyway. And we don't wake up. And somehow the Gurdjieff says there are two things which are infinite. The stupidity of man and forgiveness of the God. Every time we decide to wake up and go towards God, He's always there. He's never not there. But only we have to make an effort. So, conditioning of the mind from the outside world creates these vasanas and vrittis. There is no reason to hate these vasanas and vrittis, because hatred is going to create another you. First it was you who had vasanas, now you are the hater of the vasanas, and that's the biggest mistake people have. That I'm going to fight this vasana, I'm going to be able to do this, You have to see the futility of the vasanas. And the futility of the vasanas you will realize only when you realize your higher self. For that, the ascension to the higher level, it's a must. Without that, you cannot go anywhere. When the vrittis and vasanas become so futile for you, you see the meaninglessness in that. All of a sudden, you start withdrawing yourself. And yet, you're not going anywhere. You're just withdrawing yourself. You using your own consciousness for yourself. And you reach to pratyahara. Pratyahara is there, and the samadhi is not too far from you. Correct? He discusses Patanjali. He has discussed Patanjali for how many years now?
15 years.
15 years. He gave me a beautiful book. Amazing. So, these are all internal realizations. There is nothing externally changing on your face or your behavior. It may change, may not change. No one can tell. It's all your internal change. See, pratyahara, ultimately you're withdrawing from your senses and you're rising higher.
So if you really follow this, it creates a lot of freedom and a lot of free time.
Absolutely. There is nothing else to do.
Nothing else to do.
But to enjoy the life. Enjoy the life.
Then what do you do?
Then you give. Then the giving starts. Then you connect. So
I can think after retirement. All giving, that.
So the conditioning of the mind is what has been giving the colors to our personality. Our personality was like a totally transparent water. But the colors have been added. Now become red, some becomes yellow, some become pink. And those conditionings never lets us rest. We are never at rest. Your mind is continuously thinking to hold on to whatever you have achieved or to get something new. Yoga and kshema. Kshema and yoga. It keeps on going. Yoga is all the efforts that you spend to acquire things that you don't have. And kshema is all the efforts needed to hold on to what you have, ultimately to give up anyway. But that wisdom will comes later when the last moments of death. Oh my, well, there's always a next life, and it goes on. So, the dichotomy in our personality, we have to realize that we are the creator. Mahavir says that you are the doer of every single action that you're doing. You see the totality in that. You do not see chicken and egg as two separate things. Egg is just another way of chicken to make more chickens. See the continuity? The same way, chicken are the eggs way of making more eggs. Simple. Whichever you look at it, the totality, you start learning to look at it, you will see that I was the doer for enjoyer of the foods. I am the hater. I am this. I am that. But what binds everything together is your consciousness. And when you see the consciousness in its totality, you have peace. You have steadiness. And once you see that, then you start binding that your consciousness with everybody else's consciousness. Just the way your vrittis and vasanas start dropping, your desires start dropping, you also start dropping your likes and dislikes outside. My likes for you and my dislikes for you also start dropping. I connect consciousness to consciousness. So that's the path Mahavir says you have to take.
So in practicality, you continue doing your routine work,
But with awareness.
and
Awareness.
then whatever free time you have, then you go internally and try to be a giver or try to do something.
yourself.
Don't try.
It's not,
Not to try anything.
again, doing 20 minutes of meditation is only to practice your awareness. But the awareness has to spill into every single action that you're taking. So you're in meditation all the time. Whether you could meditate certain day or not, doesn't matter. As long as you're in awareness. I was not meditating when I decided to eat mushrooms. I just became more aware that it's a stupidity. My mind was telling me that this is bad, and I ate without even knowing my mind. So just you have to be aware of every single time. And it's tough. It's not easy, but again, with the practice, it comes.
So, in short, like you just bypass your mind and you are all set. That's what you mean?
Don't crush your mind.
Bypass it.
Well, bypassing
It's
is
not bypass,
it's
it's
transcending.
We are using the wrong word
You will-
terminology, which
you will-
confuses other people.
You will transcend it only when you have gotten something better. When you are a kid, and I tell you that you're playing with a small red open convertible, and I said, this is a toy. For you, it's everything. Until I give you another a real car, you're not going to drop that. So to get that real car, that's the tough challenge. Yes, it's easy to say drop the mind, but drop the mind and grab what? Because you're not going to sit quiet and do nothing. You have to connect to the higher self. Then only you can transcend. So transcendence is the real world rather than dropping. Dropping just happens. You don't even have to do an action to drop it. Without connecting to the higher self, you will be a doer of dropping the mind. Again, you are in the mind. So doership will persist. The meditation is all about non-doership. So try not to have the discriminating type of behaviors. One chariot is one wheel of the chariot going direction, other chariot going that direction. It's dividing that the only time you realize when you step backwards, go into meditation, you realize that your energy is being wasted. This direction, that direction, then you come back this direction, go back this direction. All this is a waste. Mullah Nasruddin once was traveling and he was in the upper berth. The train starts, after half an hour he forgot. He says, let me say hello to the guy at the lower berth. He says, by the way, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to Calcutta. Oh, very good. Look at the technology. Lower berth is going to Calcutta. I'm going to Bombay. Very good. He goes to sleep. We think nothing of it. We speak something, we think something. All these things are going like there is nothing tomorrow. We are okay. You know? So we do contradictory things all the time. So all these things really has to teach us. And we do try to do a balancing act, and somehow we manage to live a long life. And then we die. But we never really learn anything from life. learning is the most important thing. So every time you choose, we have to realize that choices are being done by you, a knower, the doer. Because why would you make a choice unless you want to achieve something? So the choices which are being made are creating a lot of disturbances on your mind with an object of achieving that object, holding on to that object. So you creating hell down the road. Either the object you will be able to get it, or you may still have the object in your mind, you may not be able to get it, or once you get it, you lose the interest in it. One way or the other, the haunting starts, and then the hell continues after that. So there was a joke about, so the guy goes to hell, and he said, well, I mean, I must have done a lot of bad things, so I ended up in a hell. So the devil is there, he's taking him around. There were several compartments, several rooms, and he says, I'm going to show you, we are hell, but we still have a democracy here. You can still choose your suffering, you know. So the first room they take you, the people are covered with slime, and they have to, that's their food, and they have to lick each other and all that, right? So the next room, the guys are being punished because their skin is being taken out live. He says, that's really bad. So the third room, the guy goes, and there is a cesspool all full of feces and urine and everything, and people are standing, and the assistant of the devil is standing there, and they're drinking coffee. So, I mean, out of the three, I would rather go with this. So devil says, are you sure? Because the choices are irreversible. Once you decide, you cannot go back. He says, no, I think I'm fine. So, all right, it's okay, I'll throw you in there. The guy he gets a coffee and starts drinking. 5 minutes it goes, and the bell goes off. He says, okay, the recess is over, now go headwards, head down. So now you have to stand on your head in the feces. She didn't get it. So whenever we choose, we're choosing hell.
That was the recess time.
Choice is suffering. Choicelessness is freedom. And that choicelessness will happen only when you do not attach yourself to anything. When you detach yourself from everything, then you realize that you're having a free ride continuously, 24/7. You are free from the suffering. So we have to be aware of whatever actions we're doing. And alcohol is not the only addictive substance. Bad foods are not the only addictive substances. We get controlled by the crowd, the behaviors. For example, like actors and actresses, they dress up to the max, but we get attracted. Now, if the actor or actresses were looking like Buddha, we won't go there. So people are trying to attract each other. We do too. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way you look. All these are traps set to attract other people. Just the way the trees, when they are loaded with ripe fruits and attracts the birds, we're trying to get attraction. Politicians, they give the fake promises. What are those? Those are ripe fruits that come on. Vasanas and vrittis, and because the more voters come in, the more chance of winning, more money they get, and higher they go, and all these things. So we are in the business of attracting each other's, attention. So that is also another trap. And in the crowd has no soul. Crowd is a different behavior altogether. You give up your soul in the favor of being in the crowd. Otherwise, how could your next door neighbor, a Jew, disappears overnight in Germany and you don't even ask what happened? It doesn't even wake you up. It didn't. For all these millions of Germans, it happened. Fascism happened. Hitler could win. Again, Hitler, like I said last time, had an interest in poetry. He was a painter and had a poetry, had a soft, but he gave up his own self in presence of the crowd. Crowd has no soul. A single person cannot attack a masjid and destroy a masjid or kill a Muslim girl. But a crowd can. Same thing, vice versa. Either way, Look what is happening in Iraq. Shiites and Sunnis. They are the same people. It's ridiculous how far these things can go. So identification with a crowd is also the alcohol you're drinking. If you really analyze all these things, we are living in a bars, basically bars set up everywhere. And we get affected. Our individuality gets lost. As soon as you wake up, he's dressed up like that, I'm going to do like this. She's dressed up like that, I'm going to do like this thing. All day it goes on. We're trying to please others. We're learning from the others what they do. But our self gets destroyed. Self is never really, we go into that. So Mahavir says that we should consume these substances in a minimum quantity, only when we have to have it. Otherwise, we should stay away from it. But so now what happens is, when we trying to attract attention of other people, is another powerful thought from Mahavir. When we trying to impress somebody else, what is the analysis of that? He's saying that when you try to attract somebody else to you, you already attracted by them. Meaning, right? So it's very subtle. Your desire to get somebody's attention means you are already attracted to them in the first place. Otherwise, why would you care? Why would I care to attract your attention if you did not were attracted to me? I would not be wasting my energy to have your attention. So they say, Mahavir says that whatever things are happening at a very subtle level is happening at your mind level. So your internal makeup is ready so that you're going after other people, because other people are important to you. So you're already attracted to them, so their attraction to you becomes extremely important for you. So you already are gone away from your own self. The actresses which are trying to attract the attentions of everybody, they already want attention. Whether they get it or not is another story. The same way, if I'm trying to impress you, I'm already impressed by you. That's why my impression on you is extremely important. It's very subtle, but it's telling you that whatever is happening within you. So Osho gives a good example. He says they were in the Kumbh Mela. So there was a friend that he was sitting with. And at a very distance, they saw a lady was taking a bath in the Ganges, and a long hair and all that. So the man says, I have to go. I won't be resting peacefully tonight if I don't go and check her out. So he goes there, and all of a sudden he comes around within 2 minutes. He says, why, what happened? Oh, there was a sadhu tha. There was a sadhu. There was a sadhu who had long hair. So analyze the whole thing. The femininity or masculinity outside had nothing to do with it. Your masculinity within you was making you attracted towards the image of femininity outside. So Mahavir says outside world has not that much value. Do not blame the world. World is just the way it is. It's you. We are ready to hook our energy to different hooks. So these are different hooks which are outside. We don't have to, but we do it anyway. So our internal makeup makes us think that we're enjoying this world. It's like you give a bone to a dog, and the dog is chewing on the bone, is enjoying. We know there is nothing in the bone. Bone is a dead bone. But when the dog is chewing, his gums are bleeding, and he's getting the taste of that blood, and he thinks that the taste is coming from the bones. So our internal makeup, our vrittis and vasanas think that we are getting the pleasure from outside. The pleasure is all within us. We are using all this as dog bones to stimulate that pleasure. In any kind of activity, including sexual activity, he says that in the sexual activity, we're using the outside object, but right from the beginning to the end, it's all your energy. It's all about you. It's not about anything else outside. But somehow our mind is focused outside. So we are so divided inside. But when we are not divided and we realize the existence of undivided self within, hooks are not necessary. And the pleasure which is already there, you can explore. So that way Osho says that Mahavir and Buddhas were the greatest bhogi. They enjoyed the ras, the bliss of Paramatma 24/7. What are we enjoying? What are we enjoying? One drink here and there? They were in the state of bliss 24/7. That's the real enjoyment.
To Krishna, that's why they always say, the highest yogi and highest bhogi.
Right, exactly.
For Krishna,
At that level you
the
can be
word
both.
used is yogi and bhogi.
Right. So we have to realize all our actions, why are we doing those actions? So whenever we are told to change ourselves with these ideologies, we have to ask ourselves. They say love your country. You can say, well, why not, right? But then love your country means hate all other countries. That means you cannot love everybody else. Love humanity. Why? The animals have no soul. You can't love animals. So all these things are big slogans given out by the people to give you, mesmerize you.
They are marketing
And that's
genius.
alcohol. That's no different. And your behavior changes all of a sudden. Oh yeah, I have to love this. This is my national pride and this and that. And God bless America. Why? God can't love Iraq people? What's wrong with that? So only at a higher level you can see what you're doing wrong. That awareness is needed. We have to practice awareness, we have to sharpen awareness, we have to live awareness, live in awareness, and we have to breathe awareness. So much for today.
Jai Guru.